Is one of our healthy eating lifestyle change programs, if you want to call it that, where we try to introduce nutrition in different ways, usually something along the wellness topics of seasonal. Today we're doing something around a winter shopping the winter farmers market, introducing you to some different types of winter squash. Katie Poole, who I'll let her introduce herself in a minute, has been a friend of Griffin for many, many years. Just to reiterate, you do have some recipes in front of you. One of them is for a salmon with a citrus salsa this evening. And then also on the back of the other card, there are some ideas on what to do when you see these funny looking squashes in the market, right? Different kinds, different names, but they all taste great when you prepare them the right way. So again, we are at Corey Walk, our Center for Healthy Living. We try to focus some of the educational topics out of here based on fighting chronic disease. How do we use nutrition to do that? Different lifestyle programming. We currently have a series running on stress awareness, which is on Fridays. And we also do one on nutrition and counteracting the effects of the GLP-1 medications that people are starting to get so jazzed about these days. So without further ado, I'm going to let Katie Poole introduce herself and enjoy the program.
So as I was saying earlier, yes, thank you all for coming out on this cool and blustery day. Hopefully you're all staying warm at home. Again, my name is Katie Poole. I was formerly the executive director at Massaro Community Farm, which is a nonprofit organic vegetable farm in Woodbridge. I have affiliations with a number of farms in the area. I am not a certified chef. I am a master beekeeper though, but I've spent many years on the farm showing people and engaging with people over how to use the produce that they're often getting from our local farms. Because many of these items that grow well here in our climate are not always things that you will see in the grocery store, right? Maybe at a farmer's market, maybe at a smaller co-op. So tonight we are going to make a few different things. We are going to roast some acorn squash. These are from an organic farm. I've already washed them and cleaned them for you, and I do want to cut them and get them in the oven while we continue to go through things so that they will be nice and roasted as we get ready to eat our fish. The other thing we are going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a chimichurri sauce, which there is a lot of fascination currently and in recent years with basil form pesto. But as we know, there are many different ways to make these types of very simple toppings for our foods. And chimichurri is another one of my favorites because you can use a few different greens. It is in the Mediterranean world based on parsley instead of the use of pesto, which is often very easy to get and grow. And can often be found this time of year. I'm going to surprise you, and I am actually going to make a chimichurri with the tops of our carrots. So we're not going to throw those carrot tops away. We're then going to do some roasted salmon, which I'm going to pan-sear very quickly and make a quick citrus salsa for you. The reason I'm doing that, number one, is we got this fish from a local farm company that is now doing farm-raised fish here in Connecticut. And we have some wonderful salmon from them, and it's also wintertime is citrus season. So I wanted to feature some of the citrus fruits, even though they are not regional. Pineapple, oranges, lemons, grapefruits are all really at their peak taste right now. So I wanted to feature that. And then we're just gonna throw together a salad with some of the other things that we got from the farmer's market. Does anybody have any questions so far? All right, so you can see that what I did was I took this lovely acorn squash, and as I said, washed it and cleaned it. And I've got these slices, maybe 1/2 to 3/4 thick. And honestly, if you are being heart healthy and you don't want to do any oils, you can roast this. It has a wonderful flavor without putting anything on it except a little bit of salt. I'm going to just drizzle a little bit of olive oil on it. And the reason I like to do that is because it helps the seasoning stick to the squash. And then right before it's done, we're going to just drizzle the tiniest amount, you don't need a lot, of some local maple syrup on it. And the reason I like to do that right at the end is because I don't really want it to soak in. I really just want it to add to making like a crispy outside to the squash and maybe caramelize just a little bit. That's going to enhance the sweetness of the squash. And then we're going to top it with our chimichurri. And the nice thing I like about those two flavor combinations is you've got a little bit of salt from your seasoning, and then a little bit of, sweetness from the maple syrup, and then a little bit of the salty, tangy lemonness from the chimichurri. So that's what we're going to do with this. I'm going to just put a little bit of seasoning on this, and we're going to throw that in the oven, and then I will talk a little bit about where we can find fresh produce this time of year. So I really like Market 32 right here. I don't know if anybody shops there. Like places that maybe you might shop at more frequently, such as Big Y, or maybe in New Haven, we have Elm City Co-op. You're going to have markets that feature both a mixture of what we are used to finding on a regular basis, the things we kind of want all the time, right, that might not generally be seasonally available in our area, and that's okay, but also combined with the things that they might get from a local farmer. So I like shopping those smaller to mid-sized regional markets, and I think they try really hard and do a good job of that. And we'll talk in a minute about what it really means when we say local or regional, and the mileage range that we're talking about when we do that. And we're lucky enough in Connecticut, and you'll see this in my presentation in a minute, is that we're a smaller state, which means we are close to several other nearby states, which gives us access to a real broad range, right? I mean, we're not just, we're not in the Corn Belt, we're not in a desert climate, and it means that we can have access to a really wide range of all the different food groups. We've got grains, we've got meats and other proteins, such as seafood and shellfish, fruits and vegetables, which I love. And I'll talk a minute about all the things I've laid out there for you. All right. All right. Great. All right. So let's get started with this. All right. So I was just talking about this. Generally, the idea is when we were talking about food sourced locally, it's food that comes within a 250-mile radius. So around Connecticut, we have Pennsylvania, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey even, which is where you can get so many of those foods that I was just talking about. So not just at our local co-op or farmers market, sometimes in a food buying club, particularly on those things that come better in bulk, like grains. We also have a number of finished goods that are coming from our local producers. Maple syrup, that's one we're going to use here tonight. Lots of honey. As I mentioned, I am a beekeeper. I really value the use of honey. And then when farmers are trying to sort of stabilize their income over the course of the year, many are also converting to things like making their items available in the off season. And that might mean creating jarred green beans, pickles, carrots, sauce, salsa, crushed tomatoes, and the list, and not to mention jams and things like that. So the list goes on, and every time you think about and you see those items, remember that you are supporting the growth of those items in your area. Go ahead, Mike. So we talked about where to find these. I know this chart is really tiny and you're not going to see all the detail of this, but this is very easy to find on the Connecticut Grown site, which is a sub part of our Department of Agriculture. And this is a crop availability chart. It's actually 2 pages long, but it tells you when things are in season, right? So we have become very accustomed to going into the supermarket and buying whatever we want, whenever we want. And I've been around long enough to remember shopping with my mom and really valuing when strawberries would be in season in the springtime, right? That very short window of that thing that we love so much, because who doesn't love strawberries? So the nice thing I like about this, and there's nothing wrong, I don't want to beat anybody up for, buying grapes in the wintertime or anything like that. But when we are shopping at our farmers market or our local co-op or even in the supermarket and it says local, we can think to ourselves, okay, is this something that was harvested in the last couple of weeks? Or is this something that's been sitting in a refrigerator for months? So thinking about that, and the reason why that's important is because when we are eating food that we're getting close to its actual true season, when it is ripe, ripe is because that's when you're going to get the peak nutrients of that. Those vitamins and minerals that are so good often come when our bodies need them. Do you want to go ahead? So I mentioned that I am at the edge of New Haven. I'm really like on the border of New Haven and Woodbridge, which gives me access to the valley. So many times I'm coming to farms in the valley, which I love, but I also am not very far from the City Seed farmers markets, which run at a number of locations across New Haven. Now they do offer several in the summertime. However, in the wintertime, they consolidate that into one indoor farmers market. And that is where I got most of the items that I'm going to be featuring here today. So I just wanted to mention that. It's not very far. I mean, it takes me 20 minutes to get there from here, so not very far at all, and that does run every Saturday. And many of those farms can be growing things that if they're featuring items, they've either produced them from a few months ago or they've been storing them, or they are actually growing. And I have a great photo of how they're doing that in a minute. But I wanted to share this slide with you because I know that many times we go in and we tend to choose the things in the market that we are very comfortable cooking, right? So we might not see these all the time, but there is a whole host of different squash that are available and that have wonderful flavors. And by the way, I would encourage you, when you can, like most of the time, this outside is edible. I mean, it can get thicker over time the longer those squash are stored in cold storage. But I had some of this acorn squash the other day, and the skin was delicious. As well as one that I don't see on here, which is called Autumn Frost. So it's the color of butternut, but it's the shape of acorn. So you might see some variants like that. Don't be afraid to ask your farmer about those. Another one I get from a local farm looks like a butternut, but it's miniature, and they call it honey nut. It's easier to grow. It doesn't get attacked by groundhogs and things as readily. So, and I think it's a little bit faster growing because winter squash can take very long time to grow, but most of these will cook the same. The exception is going to be spaghetti squash, where you're going to open these up. You can use any of those recipes that are on your squash cards. So steaming them, roasting them, or doing them stuffed. But I just wanted to mention, do not waste the seeds. So I roasted some seeds for you this morning at home, and we can put those on our salad later. Oftentimes, I mean, with the exception of pumpkins that we are buying for Halloween, most of these seeds are smaller and a little bit easier on the teeth, so easy to eat. All right.
And Katie, before I continue, I just want to mention that we started serving some different squashes at the hospital, and most recently I had a delicata.
Okay.
Squash, which I didn't know what it was, and it was a great tasting squash. And one of the things that the chef always says when he's showing things here at the kitchen is when you're cutting the squashes up, to make sure you're cubing them, if you're going to be pan roasting, cubing them into the same bite-sized portions so that when they caramelize, the natural sugars come out and you're getting them all evenly cooked well.
Yes.
And
that works especially too when you're steaming, because if you're going to steam anything and use it later, either in a soup or maybe in a baked good, having them uniform size is very helpful.
And but the delicata was delicious, and it made me think, I don't see it up here. Is it?
Yeah, it's at the top.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yep.
couldn't see it, but it was truly awesome, and I followed. I had been to the farm, and I had asked Katie some questions about different squashes way back when, because I tried to grow blue Hubbards at home for the kids. We would call them pumpkins, but they're really squash. And again, I've never eaten a blue Hubbard, but some of these I've tried. They were excellent.
Yeah. All right, so I just wanted to give you an idea of all the items that could be available, right? So this is my recent couple of visits to my winter market. The picture that you see on top there is Sunset Farm, which is right here in Naugatuck. They actually took quite a hit to some of their infrastructure in the storms last August, so I was really happy to see them continuing to come to the market. She has an armful of turnips. I know they look like radishes. I've got a couple here for you that we're gonna try today, and some of these have amazing colors and flavor profiles. The white ones are Hakurei turnips. They are delicious roasted or eaten raw. Same with this one. I can't remember the name of this variety, but I love the purple color, just beautiful throughout. The other picture is everything that I got at the market this week. So you can see, and I already talked about, like the huge variety. Some things that I actually did not bring them here today, but another thing I got was celery root. So oftentimes farmers are rotating their crops. Celery root has a wonderful flavor similar to the stalk and is often just, can often be discarded, but it makes a wonderful creamy soup and has a nice starch to it to thicken other things. So it can be eaten on its own or with other items. So lots of different squashes, overwintered carrots. If you have anywhere that you can get carrots that have been started last fall and have matured slowly, what happens with many of these things, like your root crops and even your greens this time of year, is they mature very slowly, and just being exposed to small amounts of cold is going to concentrate the sugars in that produce and make it really, really flavorful for you. So yeah, lots and lots of things, including some of the finished goods that I already mentioned. Why should we do this? So I did talk about the idea of eating food at its peak freshness, but eating foods within our region and in that local region is going to really lower our carbon footprint. So many times we don't realize that a lot of the foods that we are getting are coming from over 1,000 miles away. That doesn't just mean that it's using fossil fuels to get to us. It also means that things can be picked way in advance of when they're actually truly ripe, so we're not getting those nutrients. You're going to be supporting your local economy, obviously, as well as preserving open space in your area. So don't forget all these things. I really loved this picture. This happens to be at Massaro, but I do have other pictures of this as well. So the reason why in New England, yes, we do have a warming climate, but the reason why many of our farmers are able to keep their crops growing this time of year is because they're growing in these structures called high tunnels. So when you see these, it's not a greenhouse, it's not a temperature controlled facility, but it is a large steel enforced structure that has just a thin layer of plastic on the outside, believe it or not. But just that, it's kind of like you and I wearing the equivalent of a winter coat. So that's going to insulate that produce. It's going to keep many times the ground from freezing. I mean, I won't say that for those 0 temperatures last week, but if we get temps in the 30s and 40s, produce is going to continue to grow and mature at a slower pace. And those high tunnels can often maintain temperatures of about 60 to 65 degrees. So that's why we can see some of this lovely produce continue to grow and be harvested even throughout the winter months. All right. So I already mentioned Sunset Farm. Massaro is definitely another one. Gazy Brothers 4-Root Farm is another farm that has a diverse offering that I often get vegetables from. They're a little bit further away. Starlight Gardens, fantastic, started out actually doing more fruit than vegetables. They are now certified organic. Red Clover Farms in Seymour does have a beautiful farm stand, and they have a very small CSA, which is that term for community supported agriculture, if you're not sure what that means. I know I tend to throw that out and not everybody knows what that means, but that is when you are buying a share from that farm. You are committing to a season of produce. You are paying that farmer in advance and entrusting them that they are going to deliver a quality and quantity of produce that you are going to be happy with. So I can tell you, farmers do not take that lightly. I also just wanted to mention this other sites. I love getting a mixture of things from the farmers market, whether it's summer or winter time, because we never get bored with what we're eating. We're always kind of challenged to use things in new ways and sometimes combinations that we weren't used to getting before. So I love the Supercook app. I recently started using that, and there are multitude. By the way, like if you have an iPhone, something else might work better. The reason I love this so much is because you can actually list all the pantry ingredients that you keep on hand, and then you can make your own shopping list or just look for recipes that use the ingredients that you have. So it allows you to sort of not waste things that are in your pantry, and you can update that at any time. So that's a lot of fun. And All Recipes allows you to search for recipes by ingredient as well. Yeah?
Do all of these sell their products through the winter, or is there that market that you mentioned you go to?
So all of
Where
them...
is that one?
Okay, so all of them do. Gazy Brothers does take a break in the wintertime. Red Clover has their converted products. So they have maple syrup and honey and some other jarred products. The farmers market that I was talking about is the New Haven Winter Farmers Market that is run by City Seed. And that's all one word, CITY, SEED. You can find them online. And there is at one of the co-op high schools. And they list the time. It's on a Saturday morning. It's every week. So if anybody
Katie,
wants.
really quickly, when you mentioned the CSA that those
Yes.
places do, what would be for someone who's never done it? What would the cost be for an average? Just a kind of a guesstimate.
Right. So farmers handle that in different ways, just so you know. Oftentimes you can buy a half share, so that'll be a lesser quantity, or you can buy it so that you're getting the same amount, but you're getting it spread out, so maybe every other week or every 2 or 3 weeks. So farmers do it in different ways, and I would say in this area, half shares of organic vegetables, and that's a mix of maybe 10 or 12 different things a week, could run anywhere between $350 and $400 for a season, and then a full share could be right around $800. Now you can do deliveries, you can get add-ons such as eggs and bread and dairy, and some do meat, so there's a lot of different variations, and I encourage you to shop around. Actually, the Department of Ag website does have a list of local farms. They used to print a map, but they're getting away from printing. So you can see the list of farms there, and it tells whether they offer CSAs, as well as an organization that is an organization of organic farmers called NOFA, Northeast Organic Farming Association. And we have a very robust Connecticut chapter. So ctnofa.org also lists farms, and they also list many other producers, including shellfish and ocean farmers as well. So those are some resources for you to find some of those and do some price shopping and comparison to what's close to you, what'll work for you. All right. Any other questions before we go on? All right. So I'm keeping an eye on this squash. I really don't need to do anything to it. I'm going to leave that in there. The rosemary smells good. You guys don't smell that yet. And I'm going to get started on so I'm going to do like a really quick pineapple salsa topping for the fish that we're going to make. I love pineapple because I grew up in Hawaii, so I'm very spoiled. But my mom used to actually send me pineapple. But it is a citrus fruit, and it is very good in season. So if you go in your supermarket and you see, along with your lemons and oranges and red grapefruit, which is another one I love, you're going to see pineapple. Very inexpensive this time of year, because this is when it really is at its best flavor. So most of the time we are getting this from South America, but a good way to tell if your pineapple is ripe is you want a hint of orange color in the skin, and you want to put it up to your nose and smell the fragrance. If you can't smell it, it's not ripe. If it's starting to have an orange brownish tint on the skin, if this outer skin feels dry and very brittle, it's past ripe. So pass that one over and go to the next one. So that's a good way to help you figure out, if your pineapple is ripe or not. All right, so I am going to start with just mincing some garlic and onion in my keep this over here for you. In my food processor, so you're going to hear this for just a second. Let's see, I'm going to hold one there. Keep that really light, and I had a bowl for this. No, I'm good. I'll use this. Yeah. Thought I had a different container for it. Ooh, I can really feel that. So these small purple onions are called cipollini onions. Don't let them fool you, because they are small, but they are potent. So you do not need a lot. A little bit there. And then how big or small you leave this pineapple is entirely up to you. I like just a hint of salsa with my fish. I don't want it to overpower it, particularly when you're cooking salmon, because good salmon is so fresh and has a naturally buttery flavor by itself, so it really does not need a lot. Okay, so I do want a little bit of chunks there. I'm going to leave that. And I am making extra here because I'm making enough for you all to try. And if you don't see me measuring a lot up here, don't be concerned. Number one, I don't tend to measure a lot when I'm cooking. And number two, don't be afraid to really, I mean, it's always good to start with a recipe. Particularly, I realize like my husband is not as confident in the kitchen and he really wants a recipe to follow, especially the first time he makes something. Nothing wrong with that. However, as we get a little more confident, don't be afraid of leaving out an ingredient if you know you don't like it. Or just substituting something else. Like why not use, if you have a grapefruit at home and not a lemon, squeeze some of that juice in, a blood orange, nothing wrong with that. Try to keep those seeds out of there for you guys. Has anybody seen those seedless lemons? It's a new thing, yeah, totally new thing to me. I was so surprised. The reason why I'm doing this first, this fish is going to cook really fast, and this is a fresh salsa, and I just want to give this a few minutes to sit, like 10 or 15 minutes to sit, so that those flavors meld really nicely. Now, if your pineapple is really tart, don't be afraid to add a little bit extra maple syrup and honey. You know, taste it. You have to like it. You have to eat it, right? So I hate for you to like make something exactly as your recipe dictates to you and then not like it. So please don't be afraid to taste as you go. All right, the only thing I did not bring with me is cilantro. Again, that's an optional thing. I left that out because I know some people, cilantro doesn't agree with them, but that is a very common ingredient, particularly in fresh salsa. I'm gonna add a little bit of soy and a little bit of maple syrup, and then we'll set this aside and we'll get our fish cooking.
So, Katie, someone on Facebook has asking us, her name is Roxanne. Thank you, Roxanne, for watching. She wants to know the name of that market in Naugatuck.
Oh, it wasn't a particular market. I was actually naming a farm, and the farm was Sunset Farm. And Sunset Farm actually does, I know that they go to that City Seed Market that I was mentioning in New Haven, but I would really encourage you to visit their website or their social media page to see if they also do other markets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Roxanne, I hope you heard that. Thank you for asking that question on Facebook for us.
Some people don't like the flavor of maple syrup. I know most of the stuff that we think is maple syrup is not. And it took me getting to work on a farm to really start tasting the quality of a good maple syrup versus most of the products that we're finding in supermarkets today, which are largely, what? Corn syrup, yes. So no cilantro. I'm just going to do a little bit of red pepper. This is not really strong. It'll just give it a hint of spice.
By the way, on the cilantro,
Yes.
people who hate it, it's not just a preference.
It's a genetic thing.
It's in your DNA.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
certain genes, 4, 6, 8, 2. That tastes like soap.
Yes. And I've had people like that. So yeah, I totally get that.
So, in case our Facebook audience didn't hear that, one of our people in house here was commenting on how normally when people don't like cilantro, it's not that they don't want to like it; it's something in their genetics that blocks it, the taste bud from us really enjoying it, and they report it tastes like, I think you said soap, correct? Yeah, soap.
Yes.
I am not one of those people, thank God. I love cilantro.
I wish I liked it.
It's great. All right. So I've got a little olive oil in these pans. Get these pans warming up. By the way, I've heard a mixture of things about using nonstick cookware. Has anybody else heard anything negative about using nonstick cookware lately? Yes? No? I do have a couple of really good inherited cast iron pans, so I'm very happy to continue to use those at home. But for cooking salmon or any fish, so I've got these wonderful cuts here. Let me grab them real quick so you can see. So again, as I mentioned, and I'll talk about these ingredients in just a second while our fish is cooking, but this came from Ideal Fish. So this is a newer company. They've been around just 2 or 3 years. And they are located here in Connecticut, I believe in the Southbury or Southington area. I always get those two confused. I apologize. And they are doing 4 types of fish. And they have also some downstream products as well. So if you were looking for, I think they do some kind of spreads, but salmon, branzino, trout, and there is another whitefish that they offer, which it's escaping me at the moment. In any case, I encourage you to visit their website. So they are talking about, number one, being environmentally friendly because they are not overfishing the oceans, but they are also controlling the growing aspect. So they claim that these fish are extremely clean and nutrient dense. So you guys are going to be my test. I did have some trout from them last week. It was delicious. So I wanted to give the salmon a try. Plus they were out of the salmon when I was there. Now when I'm cooking salmon, I like for it to have just a little bit of, I'm also going to add a little bit of the soy and maple syrup on the very end just to get a little bit of crustiness there. But honestly, we really don't need a lot with our salmon. So I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of butter in each pan. And these are only going to cook for about 5 minutes on each side. Again, depends on the cut that you have and how thick that piece of fish is, right? So definitely double check your cooking times, but honestly, most fish that I've cooked 5-6 minutes tops on the first side, maybe 4 minutes on the second side. So it does not take much at all. Oh, and these are actually cut, and I didn't even realize it. Some people, again, I apologize if you're trying to do oil-free cooking. I wasn't sure about these pans, and I certainly did not want these to stick. So I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to these. But the nice thing about the butter is it's going to give that little bit of brown finish. And then the little bit of olive oil kind of offsets that and keeps the butter from evaporating too quickly so that you lose the benefit. How's everybody doing so far? Mouths watering yet? Smell that rosemary in the oven? I'm going to set a timer.
And Katie, how long
Yes.
were you doing the fish on each side?
Yeah, 4 to 6 minutes.
So 4 to 6 on each side.
Yes.
Awesome. And last week, those of you that happen to be here, Chef Mike Rizzio was discussing how he likes to blend the oil a little bit. Helps with the smoke point and allows him to get it a little healthier without using, because olive oil you really can't heat up too much. You'll get that burnt taste or smell. So he likes to mix that with different types. We use as avocado oil, sunflower oil, things like that.
Right. So does anybody here listen to NPR, our local NPR station? Did you hear the Splendid Table today? They had an olive oil sommelier on today. So I know you're probably thinking, I didn't even know there was a such thing. So I have to say that at the farm, we had a gentleman who was on our board who works at the Yale School of Health. And he is spearheading a lot of research that talks about the downstream benefits of eating a diet that, yes, mostly the Mediterranean diet, but eating a diet that is rich in olive oil, and that there is, I think it was sort of loosely linked before, but doing a lot more studies to show the health benefits of olive oil. Do we have?
It kicks on its own.
Oh, does it? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. It's funny how this one's doing that and the other one's not. So, all right. So while we're letting this cook, and I've got my timer going back here, I had a picture of this on the screen, but I wanted you to see all of these things. So from the market, I have local maple syrup. I have this wonderful bread from Sono Baking Company, and again, they specialize in crusty breads. This happens to be a loaf with some raisins in it. The other recipe that I gave you for the squash was to do a stuffed squash. So having a little bit of bread and maybe a little bit of mushrooms, a little bit of cheese would make a perfect 3 ingredient, right? I mentioned 3 ingredients earlier. I love to work in the power of 3s. Doesn't mean you can't have more, but like 3 ingredients, you can have a delicious, tasteful dish. we've got our squash seeds. So again, I was roasting squash at home earlier. I saved these squash for you, the seeds. They are seasoned with salt. They may have just a touch of cumin on them, so be aware of that. We've got these. So I mentioned, these are very easy to grow for our local farmers, and they're in season this time of year. So if you have not had this yet, this is a Hakurei turnip. You can see this week I got them in this size. Last week they were this size. They are my dogs love these. Like they're like a radish, but actually very sweet. So we're going to put those in our salad in a minute. Another thing, does anybody know what this is? Can you all see that? So typically this has leaves on the top. This is actually one of our root vegetables. It does sort of grow partially below ground and partially above ground, and it's got this wonderful leafy top that looks very similar to a collard green. The entire thing, like many of our root crops, is edible. So if you get turnips like these and they have good greens on them, please, I encourage you to eat them. Saute them, add them to your soups, to your stews. Add them to your lasagna. I mean, there's no, just use them, right? Chili, I love hiding vegetables in chili. My family never knows. Some wonderful, I was talking already about these earlier, some wonderful overwintered carrots. I'm gonna make our chimichurri in a second while the fish, as soon as I flip that. Again, another different, one of the other things I like is watermelon radish, which often I get in November or December. If you haven't seen that, it's got a green outer and you cut open the inside and it's red like a watermelon inside. Absolutely gorgeous. And then you can get greens this time of year, but I will say that many times they can be small. I really love escarole. I know a lot of people are used to seeing escarole in a soup or cooked. Nothing wrong with that. The reason I love it is because it is so versatile and you can cook it or have it raw. So look at the nice caramelization we got going there. All right. So a good chef will tell you the key to your food not cooking is making sure your pan's hot enough before you get started.
You may want to repeat. I don't know if Katie heard you that last
Go ahead.
comment there.
They say let it release on its own, but they may not be.
Right, yeah, sometimes it's just not ready. I'm gonna turn this one up a little bit. These are,
My wife will yell at me. She says, "You don't have any patience." And it's like, even with something simple like making pancakes sometimes, I look for the holes on the top to flip it. And God forbid I flip it early and you get the liquid going off to the side. Does it really hurt the pancake? No. But there she is. I told you.
all right, so that was my 5-minute timer going off, so I turned those right on time. Just gonna turn it down just a little bit so we don't get too much smoke there. And then I'm gonna make our chimichurri. So chimichurri is like basil pesto. It is a very simple item, a very simple paste that you can put together. Can you jazz it up? Yes, if you wanted to put nuts in or you wanted to put some cheese. I left those items out today. We're gonna do lemon, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of olive oil, and we're gonna blend this in the food processor. So I've got these lovely fresh carrot tops that came right off of these organic carrots. Now, I like my garlic to be nice and minced, so I'm actually going to go ahead and add that first. So that kind of gets blended up and we don't end up with any big chunks in there. And I will not be offended if anybody does not want to taste this. Has anybody tried any other pestos that do not use basil? I see a lot of chefs using different crops that oftentimes are overlooked. So it could be dandelion. It could be arugula. I've seen arugula pesto. Has anybody tried it?
I've tried that.
Yep.
It was amazing. It was at a restaurant and
Yep.
threw me off when I first thought of it. Because right away, I'm looking for the basil flavored pesto. and it was actually really good.
I mean, doing a mix, I do like to do arugula or sometimes something that is a little bit spicier, but I don't want that flavor to be too overpowering, so mix it in with something that's a little bit more neutral. You can use a soft kale leaf or something like that to kind of have it and maybe not make it too overpowering or spicy. Straight arugula pesto or garlic scape pesto, which is the top of our soft neck garlic, also can be used as a pesto, but as you imagine, straight garlic pesto could become quite overwhelming. So I like the idea of blending it with another kind of neutral flavor. By the way, garlic scape pesto, I think some of the farms around here make that because a lot of them are growing garlic that they harvest in the spring. And I will say, add it to any hamburger or meatloaf. You don't need to do anything else. All right. I'm just going to check this. We've got about 2 minutes left. So I'm going to sprinkle a little, just drizzle a tiny little bit of our maple syrup and our soy sauce. Now, keeping this really light. I just want a hint of flavor at the end. If anybody is curious about this, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this company called Bragg's is the company that is often known for making that raw apple cider vinegar. They make a host of other products, and what they're doing essentially is basically fermenting these things. So you're getting the benefit of the natural enzymes that come in the fermentation process. So Liquid Aminos is a fermented soy product. They also make, if you have a soy allergy, they make a coconut amino, which is delicious. You can put it on almost any sauteed vegetable. I encourage you, if you haven't tried it, the flavor is out of this world. Really, really good. So I just drizzled a little bit of soy and a little bit of our liquid aminos, or maple syrup, sorry. And that fish has probably got another couple of minutes. I'm going to add some olive oil to this and get this blending. Let's see if I can.
The maple syrup, does it matter, like dark, or is it better to cook with the dark maple syrup? Or
No, and again, I don't really want it to evaporate. I really want to just get that like little bit of caramel, hint of sweetness finish on it. And I'm going to do that on the squash in a minute as well. But no, it doesn't. I mean, really, maple syrup and the coloring of maple syrup really just depends on the trees that farmer is tapping and what season and what the temperatures are doing is going to dictate the color. Similar to your honey, which is going to be determined by essentially what the bees are doing and what time of year they're doing it. Yeah. I'm going to need a little bit more of that. Scrape the sides down. Some nice fresh lemon juice. Can you guys see that on the screen? See, these lemons are so juicy. What's that? All right, and that is done. You guys can see that. That is a gorgeous color. We're going to get a little container out for that when I find them. Hang on. Here we go. Let's do it. Here we go. I want a little bit more liquid in there. Let's see if I can get The one thing I did stop at describing was I've got some amazing cheese here. So again, I would encourage that for doing your stuffed squash. I'm happy to grate some of that. We can put it on top of the salad or have it as a side dish. So I'm going to turn these off. They look like they're doing great. The meat will always continue to cook for a minute or two in the pan. And that timer is about to go off. There we go. Lovely. I love how bright and vibrant this is, especially when it's fresh. Don't remember putting salt, so I'm going to add a tiny little bit of salt. I want to say a word about salt because this is something that I've been learning a lot more about in recent years. You might be making these fantastic dishes at home and using table salt, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, most of the table salt that we are buying in this country is stripped of the minerals that are in it, which is why we started having it in the first place. So when you've got a really good quality salt, it's going to help you preserve your food for a long time. It's great in the natural fermentation process for at home. And we're starting to see more quality salts appear back in the grocery stores again. So I really like this one. I actually can find it in some supermarkets, but this is a natural, it's called Redmond's Ancient Coast or Sea Salt, great for cooking and pickling. But there's a lot of trace minerals that our bodies need, particularly if you're active. And having a good salt makes all the difference in the world. So try different ones. Make sure you're using a good one. All right. So there is our chimichurri. All right. So fish is done. I'm going to go ahead and drizzle a little bit of maple syrup on for the last couple minutes of baking for the roast squash. We'll throw together our salad and then we'll be almost done. Mike's going to get some plates ready for you all, so I don't think we need that anymore. I'm going to switch up.
This is the best part because I know everyone's going to smile when I put these plates on.
Get it clean. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to add maple syrup. Again, this is entirely a taste preference. As I mentioned in the beginning, I made some of this at home the other night when I harvested those seeds for you. My daughter wanted absolutely nothing on it but salt, so you don't need to put anything on it. Most squash, again, when you're harvesting in its season, you're getting it locally, you're going to get a great flavor with almost nothing on it. Same thing goes for, if you are going to just steam it, and steaming it, you can puree it into a smoothie. You can make a soup base out of that. You don't really need anything but squash to make squash soup. You can also puree it and use it to make your own, use a recipe for pumpkin bread, but use your squash puree instead. And then you've got this amazing fresh puree loaded with all those vitamins and minerals. The thing I didn't mention earlier about squash and even eating this mix of things where you're getting a lot of these yellow, orange, and red, those minerals, those anthocyanins, I think they are called, are cell preservatives. So they are not reversing aging, but they are basically stopping your cells from aging. So they fight free radicals, especially this time of year. We might not be getting very much sleep. It's cold, it's dry. Our skin takes a lot of beating from being outside in the wind and such. These vegetables that we're seeing, even the citrus, like all of those different colors, super great for our cell structure in our body. So just eat them however you like them. All right, so this is looking amazing. Think I mentioned in there that I baked this on 375. Anytime you bake anything at home, if you do a slightly higher temperature, you're going to get a little bit more crispiness on the outside. So just keep that in mind. Just a little bit of drizzle. Doesn't take much. All right, those are going to be ready right when we finish our salad. Does anybody else eat escarole? Yes? A lot? Yeah. And do you eat it raw?
Sometimes, but also with cannellini beans.
Yes. So I know that is a very Italian thing. I love that too. But just, I mean, look at the density and fresh, like the color of that. So you're getting lots of great vitamins and minerals. And again, you might get a head of escarole in the summertime, and it could be a lot more bitter. Same thing goes for chard, or something that we associate, like mustard greens, collards. But this time of year, when these greens have been exposed to the natural cold tempers, again, instead of turning into a starch, those sugars are concentrating. And I'll tell you, if you had a refractometer, which is what gardeners and farmers use to measure the sugar content, you can actually see the content of your vegetables change from season to season. So this might taste very bitter in the summertime when you're getting lots of nice leafy green lettuce, right? That is much more palatable. But this time of year, when those might not be as available or are not going to hold up to the cold temperatures, escarole is a great option. And it's not quite as chewy. Like, a lot of people can't chew the tough leaves of kale. It's hard unless you massage the leaves. So this is kind of like a nice in-between, which is why I like it. I'm going to cut the rest of this. We're going to put a little turnip, a little carrots on here. A really quick dressing. For those of you, I have to tell you, I was using, in addition to salt, the other thing that I've really been expanding my use of is vinegars. Going so far as to make my own at home. So I have a wine rack in my kitchen that is filled with different vinegars. I did bring apple cider vinegar here for you today because I really like the benefits of it for our digestion. I know a lot of people like balsamic, but balsamic was, as much as I love it and I still use it in small quantities, was really starting to bother my belly. So I switched over and started using apple cider vinegar. And I'll tell you, if you ever have a little bit of indigestion, taking a teaspoon to a tablespoon of some apple cider vinegar is amazing. Wait 15 minutes and you'll be better. It's like magic.
Katie, this past fall, we always go to the garlic festival up in Bethlehem, and there was there's so many different.
It is a lot of fun.
Elixirs and concoctions and
Garlic ice cream.
They have everything, right? So there was a stand that was getting super popular. Everyone was checking this guy out, and it was called Fire.
Fire cider.
It was a little bottle of mixture. Maybe
Yes.
It was fire cider. But I bought a bottle, and man, I swear this thing will put hair on your teeth. But it really,
So why did you buy it? What was he touting it as?
Yeah, again, the health benefits of
Yes.
apple cider and the fermentation and all that. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try some. You're supposed to have a teaspoon, I think a teaspoon a day. And you can mix it in teas, put it on a salad. There was tons of uses. But man, it is potent, and you only need a little bit. But similar to what you said about your stomach feeling a little off,
Yep.
you take a little bit of that and it's gone.
So, 100 years ago, they used to drink bitters, like before or
Yes.
after a heavy meal. It's kind of the equivalent where you're offsetting, foods that might be really rich or have certain elements in them that don't agree with your digestive system. But fire cider is taking apple cider vinegar and infusing it with horseradish is the main thing, but also onions and garlic because they have natural antiviral and antibacterial properties, which is fabulous. And then usually some citrus, so you can add some lemon and some orange, and then maybe some herbs of your choice, like ginger is common, either oregano or thyme. And you're basically just going to put that in your cabinet and let it sit and fuse for about 4 to 6 weeks. Strain it off, sweeten it with honey, raw honey, and then you've got this amazing infused, vitamin-enriched tonic that is good for your digestive system. It's great for warding off colds, or if you start to feel a cold coming on. It's just a nice thing to have around. And as Michael said, you can mix it with some juice and some seltzer and use it as a drink. You can create salad dressing with it, so you don't have to drink it straight. A lot of people don't want to be drinking vinegar straight. But yeah, you've got so many different properties from the raw honey, the onions and garlic, the citrus, and the natural enzymes in the fermented apple cider vinegar. So it's all around. It's one of those old old farm things that I got used to, and yeah, now I make my own. So it's a lot of fun to try if you
And
haven't.
you have you're gonna do something for us, I think, later in the year about tonics.
Oh yes, yes. So if you're interested, come back. We're also going to do some elderberry tonics and fire cider. There's a couple other things we can do with local ingredients, so it's a lot of fun. All right.
Yeah, I think the name on the bottle was Fire Tonic for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is our Hakurei turnip. Shred a couple carrots. And then we'll put some dressing on this and we'll be good to go.
Does anyone have any questions as we're wrapping up the salad here? And, the salmon looks like it's done.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a lot of different things at the center. We had one last week. We're having, Katie today. I think in February, I may have mentioned this last week, we're going to do things around heart health. So that'll be like the theme we go with. And one of the things that Griffin is doing is we're trying to promote a universal topic hospital-wide. So the topic for February will be heart health. So there might be a speaker you may hear about. We're going to be doing a book, an authored book, a presentation in our library at the hospital. Those of you may or may not know, but many of the community hospitals got rid of their libraries. And one of the things that our CEO wanted to do was keep our community library going within the hospital. So we have we have 2 librarians there that do a phenomenal job with research articles and access to journals and PubMed and things that the average person wouldn't be able to get to. But it's still your quote unquote private, quiet environment. It's a warming environment. The colors that they use to decorate the library are meant for a reason. And we're doing a lot to promote the use of the library again, for patients' families that are in the hospital. If they want to research something, they can come down there, and the librarians are right there to help them to kind of walk through what's going on and what we can find them. So, but that's one of the things. So each month we're trying to do something in the hospital. We'll kind of market that across the entire
I did not know that. I
organization.
love that idea.
Yeah, we found that we were, if I wanted to market something for National Nutrition Month in March, and our communications team was doing something else on, colonoscopies or colorectal screening or, you name it. It was a mixed signal because we're trying to promote this. And those of you that follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, you'll see we post things periodically. It's becoming more frequent. We're using WPLR. We're using different channels to get this out with digital marketing. And again, we're trying to just keep it all in one with the same messaging.
You mean like at any given time period, you're trying to stick with a theme?
Yes,
what you
for
mean?
that month.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
So we have our marketing calendar out for the entire year. And then the programming will coincide together they'll sync together with everyone.
Is it on the Griffin Hospital website also?
So it should be under griffinhealth.org/events. So you should see everything that we're doing will be coming up there. This is on there. Yep.
I think I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, this is definitely there. Many of you might have registered through there. There was a QR code on a flyer, but then also anything we do here at the Center for Healthy Living, if it's a live demonstration, if it's a chef demo, it'll be on the griffinhealth.org/events. You'll see even some of our wellness classes. Right now we have a weight loss toolkit, a smoking cessation program, a heart health program for people living with diabetes. Those classes are running. These are free classes to the community that we offer, and they're on that page as well.
Look at that. Beautiful. Do you want to turn the oven off and just turn it off, and then I'll take that stuff out. So you might have seen me pause. I took out these purple radishes or turnips, and I really want you all to try them, but I'm actually going to slice them so you can grab them separately. And then we need, where's our, yep, I do want to put those out for you all to try those.
Those 2 green ones there, is that kohlrabi?
Yes, kohlrabi, and then did not use the cheese today. I did just want to mention too, so when I first started cooking squash, it took me a while to figure out what the best way was to cut it and peel it. So you weren't here early on, but when I was cutting that round acorn squash, round things can be very dangerous on a cutting board with a sharp knife. So always cut the ends off because it gives you a flat surface to work with, so that will stabilize that squash for you. At least cutting it at half is a good main objective to start with, because then you can scoop out the seeds, and again, you're working with a flat surface. So you can either put it face down, the open cut side down, and I did bring this peeler because again, that stabilizes that item, so you can peel it if you want to steam it. Butternut squash is the one that's like tall and elongated, which is usually a challenge for me. And I figured out if you cut the neck off, and then so you cut the ends off and then you cut the neck, which is solid, separate from the bulb part, which has the seeds. And it's very easy to peel with the peeler or with a knife, like stabilized on the cutting board. So I did want to mention that. I don't see where oh, it's on the table. Okay, so just a spoon for that chimichurri. We've got this, and I will grab the squash. All right, and we're I've got some right here.
Okay, so I think we should probably put the portions on the dish, you think, for them.
Okay, sure. So we're gonna portion these out for you, and then we'll have you come up. Yeah, is there anything anybody doesn't want, or are we not gonna do that? Okay.
So just for everyone here, we're going to portion off the salmon and the squash. I'll put some salmon in a bowl for you to keep it separate from the fish here. If someone does not want anything particular, just give me a hand raise. I'll come make sure I'm not giving you something you don't want, okay?
All right, and then, oh, yep, we need our little salsa here. I need a, let me get a, yeah. Yeah, please do. I'm gonna grab these two. Is anybody here vegetarian? No? Okay. I think in the last class we had someone who was vegetarian, and the reason why I mentioned that is because the other thing that I really admire, and which I have started using more in my cooking, is there is a wonderful gentleman who operates under the name of Seacoast Mushrooms. He's a little past Guilford and Madison. I can't remember exactly what town he's in, but just wanted to show you. So grows a mixture of different mushrooms. He sells to a lot of restaurants. These happen to be lion's mane, because you can see that they have that brushed texture that does look like a lion's mane. If you are a vegetarian, often mushrooms have the umami, the savoriness of a meat, but also their texture, right? So the chewiness of an oyster mushroom, or this particular one, often has the texture or is used in replace of a dish that might feature lobster. And then there is also a king mushroom. I can't remember the full name, but when it's sliced into sections, because it has a larger stem than it does top, and that is often used in place of dishes that feature scallops. So really wonderful different ways to not only, you're getting the mineral content from mushrooms, but also, you can do meat-free if you really wanted to, even if you're not doing fish. So if I did stuffed squash tonight, I was going to use the mushrooms in the mixture because I really like using mushrooms in my stuffings. I think it adds a lot of really great flavor. Seacoast Mushrooms. Yep. All right. Do you need me to do it? I'm going to slice up some of this turnip for you over here so you all can grab some of this. I want you to taste it by itself because it has such a wonderful sort of sweet, crisp flavor to it. I keep looking for where are the little dish? Can I use one of these and then we'll get another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plenty.
Yeah. So you can just grab that.
Right in the kitchen in the washroom to the right.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Questions as I'm doling.
Yeah, as we're pretty much wrapped up here. So
This looks great.
My husband goes to happy hour every Thursday, so that was easy. Well, you home, so everybody, yeah, so everybody that he used to work with in the office all meet for happy hour on Thursdays.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't even need to be a full meal. Like, there was so much produce when I went. And this was, I was actually really impressed. So I was only going to do 1 or 2 things, and there was so much, like, I couldn't help but feature, you know, a mixture of things for you all today. Just goes to show, like, how much variety we can get in our tiny little state here. This is for the seeds.
I don't know if you want to start doing the salad, maybe.
Sure. So here, let's do this. Let's bring these over here to you. I don't need that anymore.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right.
So I think at this point, and I don't have my speaker on, so I really shouldn't be talking.
Yeah, tell me what.
Well, the audience on live, but Katie, I think we should probably discuss the end of the presentation for everyone live that's watching.
Okay. Anything other than plating?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I think at this point we're gonna
Yeah.
we'll wrap up.
So we are wrapping up. For those of you who are watching or get to see this online, we wound up again as we started out. We have a pan-seared fish, which we have a little pineapple salsa for. We have our roasted squash with some chimichurri, a wonderful winter salad. It's even some little roasted squash seeds that we saved here. So we hope you all enjoy. We invite you all to come up and grab your plates. I'm going to start putting the
We just
salad
gotta
in
put the
bowls.
salsa on as well, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Once again, thank you everyone for coming. Those of you that were watching live, thanks for tuning in. Again, this will be stored on our YouTube channel, Griffin Health. If you go onto youtube.com and just search Griffin Health, all of our videos will be there.
And I'll be back
And-
next month.
And Katie will be back next month with a new feature. I'm not going to divulge what she's hosting. You'll have to tune in or come in live in person. And again, you can find what we're going to be showing if you go to griffinhealth.org/events. Everything will be there, and you'll be able to register there. All right? Thank you, and have a great evening, everybody.